Yes, guys, welcome back to another video. I'm joined with Tom again.
What's up, guys?
We're going to go through something that's happened on the internet in the last, week to 10 days?
Yep.
As you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, we are talking the fallout from the True Geordie and Tyson Fury interview.
Kind of went viral, didn't it?
It just a little bit. Went into a lot of papers, got a lot of clicks. So...
And yeah, very interesting interview nonetheless as well.
We've literally just finished rewatching it back, haven't we?
Yeah, watched it a couple of times over just to make sure we've got a few points and view on it. Obviously, no experts here, but we've got an opinion in terms of what was said, how it was portrayed, and realistically, the mannerism of it all, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's really weird because it starts off by True Geordie starts the interview, and the first thing that happens is
a reminder of
I've only got 40 minutes because I've got to get into the gym. Understandable, because he is in training camp for a fight.
Yeah, 100%, and like fair play to him actually giving that time up.
Yeah.
But it's kind of...
So he should be given the credit for giving the time up, saying he'll do the interview. Cool.
But is there also a professionalism point of doing it before it starts recording as well? To a degree.
Possibly.
Possibly. A reminder then, rather than midway through that introduction of him talking and
because
like
he looks up before he says it, like you can see him on camera look up, almost as someone sort of like prompts him to sort of remind. So he might not have thought about that. He might have just clicked on whatever.
Yeah, but it didn't set a great tone for the start of the interview at all, did it?
And then one thing that I found really weird was he didn't want to talk about the YouTuber influencer boxing. As he said, it's a good thing for the sport, it's good for them, blah, 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 but he's got no interest in it after refusing to answer a question about the KSI fight.
Kind of straight away shut down, saying it's none of his business, basically.
None of his business. But, as I'm the pop up a photo, he was on stage for Tommy Fury versus Jake Paul, which Tommy obviously wasn't able to fight twice now. So he does have to have a vested interest in it because it's his brother, and I'm pretty sure him and his dad both said, if Tommy doesn't win this fight, he's not a Fury.
Yeah. And it's true, isn't it? And if he's saying it's good for the sport and everything like that, if he didn't see the fight, should he not just show a little bit of an interest in terms of asking just reviewing it, seeing, okay, what was it like or anything? Or it was just the way he was kind of so blasé about, like, no, they're not in about, nothing to do with me.
If I want to see a proper fight, I'll go down and walk and pub on a Friday night.
Yeah.
But then again, because he talks about it because like a lot of boxing fans do, and a lot of people will, because it's not professional boxing. It is professional boxing, but not of a high level.
Yeah. And I would say, don't get me wrong, it wasn't the greatest of fights to watch as well. So,
no. But it is also promoting the sport in a way that is shown in a good light, because it's getting younger people involved in the sport, and also...
Well, he's been involved with influencer boxing before, hasn't he?
He's tried to do crossover boxings with Bjornsson and Francis Ngannou.
Yeah.
So you can't sit there and go, I'm not involved, but then sit on stage at your brother's press conference with an influencer.
Yeah. That's the bit that doesn't match up. And then you saw the next topic, wasn't it? Straight away into none of my business. And it's like True Geordie said, and his reaction was, it's one of the biggest things to come out there in terms of doping and pieces like that.
Yeah, the Conor Benn incident. So, if people don't know, Conor Benn failed a drugs test before his proposed fight with Chris Eubank Jr. This feud goes back a long way because their dads used to fight. Their dads were in the same division. They had a lot of success between the pair of them. They were supposed to fight on October the 8th. It got called off 2 days before because Conor Benn failed a drugs test due to taking a fertility drug.
Yeah.
Which some people say it can hide other drugs in your system. Some people say a lot of bodybuilders take it because after a drop in training camp, it helps boost your testosterone back up.
Yeah.
And then it's apparently come out on the day of the interview, apparently as well, that he failed 2 tests, both for the same drug, over a month apart, and Eddie Hearn and everyone put it down to he must have been contamination with the tests.
Which, is a bit suspect. I think they backed it so much at the start saying he's not going to fail it.
Yeah.
that the fact that he did, they needed to do some sort of thing to try and
Yeah.
cover up, not seem so silly in front of him. And it's obviously not down to the promoters, is it? It's just not them, but they're going to back the people that they're promoting because they've got these fights, they've got big lineups, like the amount of money it generates, but also people let down by it all as well.
And that's the thing as well. Like I get what he says by it because what Tyson Fury says by it because he turns around and goes, Conor Benn's about 10 stone. He's not in my weight division. It's not my issue, sort of thing. I get that because if it was in his division and it was someone that he might have been lining a fight up with, you take more of a vested interest. But for someone who's had their own problems with dodgy tests or drugs in the past, and he's had his own demons and he's admitted to his own demons, surely there would be a slight interest into seeing what's going on. And
it's
if a young
relatable at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, if a young boxer who has made a mistake, do you not, as an older boxer, a world champion, do the right thing and sort of reach out and show to the British public that you are a man of the people that you claim to be?
Yeah, and I think this is the thing, you see it a lot in terms of some of those big name celebrities or professional athletes. So they hear about mistakes that happen and they publicly then mention things that they've gone through to kind of back those. Like, obviously, it might not be backing in this sense, but obviously, it kind of the spiral that it went for Tyson's way was relatable as well. So actually, should he not be having an invested interest? And it was kind of a place where he could have voiced an opinion. Didn't need to be a negative, didn't need to be a positive, just a viewpoint on it.
Yeah.
But like you said, he didn't want to keep this in it.
Yeah. It's like the other thing that I'm thinking as well is Tyson had his own battle with addiction, which he's spoken about many times. He's got 2 books out. He's got a 3rd one on the way. Which fair play to him.
100%.
100% fair play to him. And he came back from his lowest of the lows to be a world champion. In what I've spoken to a few people about who are fight fans as well, sort of going, the fact of he didn't even offer an olive branch for Conor Benn maybe to talk to him or sort of like he might have done privately.
Yeah, 100%. It might not be out there. But from his reaction to it.
Yeah.
And if you think about the start of that interview, the first 2 questions asked get shut down straight away. And
yeah,
I think you saw that tone, and obviously, as you saw the interview develop, I think True Geordie was trying to talk about other things in the boxing world first before getting to Tyson, and then that's where you start to see the
unravelings of the interview, which
exactly
is a really weird one because Tyson's actually been on True Geordie's podcast before. I think it was like a 2.5 hour interview. Tyson Fury's dad was sat in the room as well, and they were there for a couple of hours, and they had this massive chat, and it was really, like, the podcast was actually a really good podcast. And then to show a lack of respect to him this time round, it's like there's clearly something else going on.
Yeah, and it just didn't seem right, like the tone and everything. It was just, you could tell he was getting more and more irritated with the questions being asked. And fair play to True Geordie, he was asking all the right questions, and you saw his reaction as he backed up why he did it.
Yeah.
And he's right. If it wouldn't be as entertaining, or we wouldn't get the relevant information that we wanted to hear, needed to hear, if he didn't probe a bit. And like you said, that is journalism. Like,
yeah.
That's the whole point of it. You don't mean to press buttons, but you need to press buttons to get a true reaction out of people. And as soon as someone you probe a little bit more, that's when you get their real reaction. That's where you get their real viewpoint. And it was, and I think as well, considering it, all consideration, like True Geordie was very like he was showing a lot of respect to Tyson, because he kept saying, I understand your viewpoint and I respect that. And he kept saying how he was a big fan of Tyson and the sport, and he thinks he's a really good fighter. And even when you think about when they were talking about the Chisora bit at the end, I know I'm jumping a bit, but in the whole essence of it, yes, he was challenging his decision of who he fights, but he was saying it in a way because he's better.
Yeah. And like, we'll just jump to that. Like, we can jump across the interview at certain points, because he also talks about he talks quite poorly of Joshua, which obviously they've just had the fight break down, and Joshua's camp blamed it on the deadlines, and Tyson goes, yeah, let them blame me for the deadlines. Da, da, da. And as Geordie says in his reaction, maybe they pulled the plug on it because Tyson became so difficult to work with. Because Chisora has the same promoters and the same team as Joshua, but yet got no deadline. And the reason he got no deadline was because he apparently
Just
had
accepted.
balls.
But we all know he just accepted a deal that was put on the table where,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, some of these fights, Joshua out themselves a bit more in terms of what they can get.
Yeah.
And
Joshua would have seen himself as the A side, so would have Fury. It would have gone both ways in that. So like, you can see both points. And one of the things that he says, which is very contradictory, is he turns around and goes, "Oh, the great Anthony Joshua that's lost 3 of his last 5 fights. Derek Chisora has lost 3 of his last 5 fights. One against Usyk by a unanimous decision, one against Parker by split decision, one against Parker unanimous decision. Has actually lost, I think it was 50% of his last 14 fights."
Yeah. And it's kind of, you can't say that, yes, he's come off the back of a win, but Joshua, I think you said, is his 5th fight he won. He then lost his 4th, won his 3rd, lost the last 2. Like,
yeah.
yes,
So
he's not in
very
the best
similar
form,
records.
but on paper, the same record. You can't say 3 of his last 5 because it's the exact same concept, just because Chisora's come off of a win.
And it's like, yes, and this is the other thing as well. The Chisora fight the last time, because True Geordie pointed out, even to Tyson Fury as well, which you've got to give him credit for. He turned around and went, the last time you two fought, you basically had to call it off yourself because the crowd were booing you that badly.
Yeah, and it's not what the crowd wanted to see.
No.
And again, it was a compliment saying he respects Chisora for his fights over the years and everything like that, but he just doesn't believe he's at Tyson's level. And he just thinks it's going to be a
title fight.
No.
When he's
lost him. He's not informed.
No. And it's the same with Joshua. I agree with the whole Joshua shouldn't be getting the Fury fight now. No. He would need to win a Dillian White, a Derek Chisora, a couple of fights, build his name back up, put himself back in the spotlight to deserve that fight. Completely understandable. But then don't use the same reason why you won't fight Joshua, or Joshua isn't as good a fighter, but then use that argument to back up Chisora being a good enough fighter. Because as True Geordie points out, boxing is a very dangerous sport. You can get hurt if you're in the wrong positions, and that's one of the things he was trying to say. He was like, if someone is ill prepared, you can get very hurt.
And you can kind of see it resonate in terms of when Tyson was obviously defending his decision, and he said, all it takes is one punch from one of the big lads, and it's the same concept, isn't it? Because you don't know what's going to happen, but like you said, it's that preparation and things like that, and it kind of takes it into a case of he's saying, yeah, you could have whacked me one, but everyone knows it's more likely to be the other way around. Therefore, it's going to be more dangerous if someone's not
because
as prepared.
The other thing as well is like Chisora in the fighting world is a brilliant fighter and has had many wars. But when you go have many wars, you take on a lot more damage than a lot of people who, like a Joshua, dance around the ring.
Yeah.
Punch, move, not get hit. Chisora's been in a lot of wars when it comes to boxing terminology. So, it can only take one punch in the wrong place.
Yeah.
And I think True Geordie tried to point out by going, it only takes one punch and someone can seriously get hurt. And then obviously Fury's going to do that, it's heavyweight boxing, anyone can win, that's the beauty of it. Yes, that is. But when the odds are so stacked against one person, the BT Sport advert even shows it, where it's like, it's got Tyson Fury laying on the ground from where he got knocked down by Wilder, but I think they've replaced it, and there's Chisora there. Yep. And he grabs hold of the picture and then throws it, and then throws a punch into the camera. Sort of go like, it's not going to happen, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the thing. They've got to back themselves. They're doing promotion stuff like that, but then there's just that realistic view, isn't there?
It's like we've had it over the last few years. I remember Eddie Hearn actually went on the True Geordie podcast and spoke about it the week before he went on there. A lad died in the ring at one of his events because he got caught wrong.
Yeah.
He had and they don't know whether he had a heavy training camp, got knocked out in sparring. That's how easy it is to
have something happen.
Have something happen in the ring. So I think he's fully fair. It's a fully fair argument to say, yes, it's heavyweight boxing, anything can happen, but also along that line of, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can say that. But if you're fighting against someone who is ill prepared or isn't ready, it's not going to end well.
No. And then let's revisit his doesn't want to leave a legacy comment, where he says he doesn't care. Yeah, he calls himself the greatest of all time, and then points out that he wants to be the first heavyweight to do 3 trilogies.
2 trilogies.
2 trilogies. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah, he goes. We've all heard him say in interviews before he doesn't care about legacy, but he's actually named after Mike Tyson, so that's already drilled into you that you're going to leave a legacy somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be a boxer, you're going to be a fighter, you're named after one of the greats. Then he does I want to be the best. I want to be the best. I am the best. I want to be the first heavyweight champion to have 2 trilogies.
Well, think about it as well. Called the Gypsy King. That king connotation is. Yeah. You never forget a king, do you? It goes down in history and stuff like that. So, and it's just, there's just a few contradictory bits, and I think that's where you see him get agitated in those interviews in terms of, says one thing, he then says another, which can contradict something he said earlier.
Yeah.
Which again, part of that probing method of the journalism inside of that, but it's just, you question it, just be upfront. If you want to leave history, at the end of the day, like he's not come this far to be forgotten about.
No, not at all. And it's like it's almost okay to say you're there to leave a legacy.
100%.
Like Joshua, I think, said it. Conor McGregor said it. Paddy the Baddy said it. Ronaldo, Messi, they're all there going, made history. I'm happy to leave a legacy behind me.
Yeah.
It's like I think Fury has left a legacy because he's come from nothing, got to something, dropped back down to nothing, then come back and outdid anything he had ever done.
Yeah.
That is a legacy of a proper champion.
100%.
It's okay to say that you want to be remembered.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just back yourself. That's it, isn't it?
It was almost like he didn't want to give True Geordie anything in the interview. He was very shutting him off, trying to... Because he also does the whole, you're being disrespectful to Chisora.
Yeah, and goes off in a mad one about his choice of fight. And I think if he listens to what True Geordie said, he wasn't trying to disrespect anyone.
No.
He was giving a fan's opinion on what they'd potentially want to see.
Because that's what he said as well.
And he said about AJ from the ones that he hasn't fought yet in his era. But why is he not taking it? And what's to say he will take it now is we've seen how many, like, when fights take place and how long they can take to arrange and things like that. And it seems like a prime opportunity. Just
because he also keeps contradicting himself. So he says, we go down the Usyk route. He turns around and goes, Usyk went to a 6-month training camp. I wasn't prepared to wait. Okay, cool. But then you later on said, I don't need to fight Usyk because he's not in my era. He turned pro pretty much at the same time as AJ. He said the same thing about Joyce. Joyce is in and around the same age as AJ, if not older, I think. Like, these people are in your era, whether you like it or not. And if you want to go down as one of the greatest, whether or not he does or not, because he then goes on about, I can't go back and fight everyone because I can't go back and fight like Muhammad Ali. And it's like, you don't have to do that. Just fight everyone that's in your...
And I think
in your era, in your level, or in your weight class.
And I think that was the thing. He did say, obviously True Geordie made the comment about the top 15 that you could choose from, and he goes off on one saying, oh, these are nobodies, you don't know them, and stuff like that. Well, one, it's an opportunity to fight someone people haven't seen and don't know enough about.
Also opens up the sport of boxing. Pretty much like you said earlier, I think it's good for the sport of boxing with the whole influencer thing.
Yeah.
It brings more eyes on.
Why not bring those actual professional top 10 even fighters into the scene who aren't as well known? Because like we've seen this last time this fight took place, there was booing.
Yeah.
Are we going to see the same again? You don't know. He might come out and shock everyone at the end of the day. You know, he might be taking it so seriously, and just be under a bit of criticism at the moment. But we will never know until the fight happens. But there's opportunities out there of him saying, actually, right, top 10, let's have it all. Beat the top 10.
Yeah.
New challengers coming into that top 10, beat them down as well.
Because you can even turn around and go, because he even said the last time he was on the Geordie podcast where he was like, no one needs to tell me how to train because some fat little Mexican beat AJ.
Yeah.
Right? Why don't you go batter that fat little Mexican and prove to AJ that you are a better fighter? Because AJ went to Dubai and just stayed behind his jab and danced around the ring.
Yeah.
Which was a fucking poor fight and I hated it. Why don't you go and batter that fat little Mexican, who's no longer a fat little Mexican?
Yep.
He's in good shape, that man. Go fight him. He's in your weight class because he's beaten Joshua, someone who you now won't fight because of your deadlines. Go beat him comfortably and go, well, your best boxer couldn't beat him. I've just done it comfortably.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, why pick the Chisora fight the third time? It doesn't make sense. You're charging £20-25 on BT Sport for a fight on the 3rd of December that a lot of people are going to go, is it worth it?
And I think that was a fair point True Geordie made at the end there, wasn't it? Before it kind of spun off and it all kicked off into a viral clip. But you said, like, you're charging the British public X amount of their well-earned cash to view this. And he kind of said, yeah, if you do, you don't. Like, sort of kind of said he doesn't care who does it or who does what. The payday's going to be less if not everyone tunes in. So he's obviously going to want it to be more. And it was the way he then said, oh, I know, it's at least 60 or 70,000 tickets already sold. It's like...
But then you go through the Instagram comments, because Geordie brought it up in another one where he does a reaction to Tommy Fury kicking off about it. And he's like, but so many people are slating it online and they're not even sure that it is 70,000. They've just sort of gone in and around that number.
Yeah.
Could easily be done. They're doing it at a big stadium at Tottenham.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, it's probably one of those where it will. It's
will,
always
but
going to be
it's also like, if you think about it like this way, we're going through a lot of things that are quite public as an English public, where it's like energy caps, money's very tight, Christmas is around the corner. 3 weeks before Christmas, are people really going to pay around 30 quid? And then whatever they eat and drink on top of that to watch a fight that has been done twice before, and quite comfortably done twice before. Yeah,
exactly. And yeah, I think as well as kind of within that interview, I think, yes, there's a lot of people slating True Geordie, and he said he's been getting a lot of stick online, hasn't he? But I think in some cases, kind of, you flip it around and actually it puts Tyson in a bit more of a poorer light to a degree.
Yeah.
I think it was just, you just saw it throughout. He just didn't have the time for it. He didn't want to answer anything. He didn't want, and when it got to nitty gritty, he just didn't like it and kind of threw his toys out of the pram a bit in terms of going off. And you saw it at the end there before True Geordie signed off, is it was talking over him. They were talking over each other. Like, it wasn't.
It got messy.
And it kind of just got to that point where they hit that blow, and there wasn't that mutual respect of talking or letting someone else speak or letting someone else finish, because they both kind of had enough of each other by that point, hadn't they?
Yeah, and before Tyson goes on his rant, even he turns around and says, even if Chisora wins this fight, I think even you'd be happy for him. And he goes, I wish you all the best for the fight. Good luck.
Yeah,
like,
and that's that's how he signed off, wasn't it?
Because it's the most Tyson Fury thing I think I've ever seen. Is he goes, good man, you baldy tosser, you toss boy.
Well, if you see,
goes off.
If you see him trying to hang up at the end.
Yeah, he's like,
he tries to say good man, and he's trying to press the hang up button, and then he comes out with all this. True Geordie obviously hears it all, and
just starts laughing at him.
And let's just say it made the interview a lot better in terms of just seeing how rattled Tyson got by it.
Oh yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like, yes he was pushing buttons, yes he did this, and now there's this massive viral clip about it and whatnot. But at the same time, I don't think he was wrong in anything he was asking. He was challenging. He was
doing an interviewer's job that a lot of interviewers wouldn't do, because Tyson, like a lot of sports professionals, are surrounded by yes men.
Mm-hmm.
They won't have people turn around and point the finger and go, like,
no. And like Tyson said, is he's never done an interview with True Geordie again. And
Yeah.
from True Geordie's response, he's fine with it. And what else has he got to do with that in his reaction video? And I think he wasn't pointing like an offensive way at boxers, but a lot of intelligent and well-respected people, celebrities.
Ricky Gervais, Louis Theroux, Russell Brand.
And they interview with him. Do you know what I
yeah.
mean? And have those conversations. He would ask challenging questions to those people as well.
Yeah.
And they'd articulate, they'd have that conversation, and at the end of the day, it's just trying to get the most natural reaction out of people.
Yeah.
And yeah, well, he got the natural reaction at the end, didn't he?
Yep. But yeah, I think both me and you are both on the side of True Geordie here, where it's like for someone that wants to do this as a job, like the interviewing side of it, he asked the right questions, he posed the right questions, and just because he didn't get the right responses or the responses that everyone else would want, doesn't mean he should back down from it. So I think it was actually a very good interview and very eye-opening.
And it was just the way that he came in with his information, and he was very well prepped for it, the interview as well. It wasn't like you never saw him typing away trying to get something up in the background or referencing a list or anything. And yeah, it could have been cut, yeah, it could have been edited, whatever. But from the natural side of things, it looks like he was basically had facts in his head from stuff he'd read up and things that he'd prepped for counter arguments to questions. Should have gone one way, should have gone another. And I think that's what made it really well done in terms of that preparation and everything that was kind of structured within that interview.
Yeah, and I think it's proven that, sort of proving the pudding, that he's had so many good people on before, ask them difficult questions. I remember one that he did with Ian Wright, and he asked a couple of questions, and it was more around the death of David Rocast. When you saw the emotional side, you saw like he doesn't mind asking those more difficult questions.
Yeah.
And I think it proves now to journalists and to interviewers that they should be asking them. They shouldn't be hiding away from a difficult question because they're scared of getting banned from ever interviewing that person again.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we're going to round this up. I know for one, I'm not watching the fight on December 3rd. If you do, it's on BT Sport. It costs about £25.
Yeah, and
I
won't be in the country, so I definitely won't be tuning in. But
yeah, I will not be watching that because it will be a bore fest.
Well, and you never know. We might not watch it. The result might go the opposite way to everyone's expecting, and then you'll see a reaction video to it.
Yeah, you will. But yeah, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new around here, and we'll see you on the next one. So